some help with this meditation.
Yeah. We're gonna figure all that out. Uh, I just wanted to go back to what you wrote to me because I really get a kick with Dr. Miles Neal. He keep it really real. He's I would I would
Yeah.
identify myself just like him. Actually, he's a no
Mhm.
nonsense psychologist that gets straight to the point. Except there are some things that are just a little bit confusing to me with certain traditions out there. Um, so that's why sometimes I'm like, I'm not getting the point. Well, sometimes maybe I'm not getting the point because I don't get like hands-on training with that tradition, so I can't really relate to that. You know, so what's going on with over there? I can only speak from what I was trained with, and you understand, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Okay. You said you did meditate way back in the day, right?
Um, not so much.
Okay. Um,
It's mostly over the last few months. So I just sort of sit and I try and think about things that I've read, but my mind wanders obviously, and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with that. So I just kind of let it go and just relax. And sometimes I get into deep thought with myself, but I don't understand how you really get into deep thought with yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, I find when I read other people's perceptions of something or their understanding, that's what sort of sparks, like, oh, I never thought of it that way, or
existential questions.
I just don't know how to do this. Okay, maybe, yeah.
Is it existential questions?
I'm not sure.
When you hear other people's story, you're able to identify with it, or you find the
Mhm.
missing puzzles to your life.
A little bit of both, sort of. I
Alright.
think I like hearing how other people perceive things. So, for example, I mean, I have started 4 different books on Buddhism, and I just seem to get to a certain point in each one where I'm like, I think I'm missing something, or this is really interesting. So I'll go over here and I'll read more on that. And yeah, and then I still can't figure out
Did you?
where the meditation comes in.
Okay. All right. We're getting somewhere. It's okay. Let me pull this up real quick. Orange account. Technologies, I tell you what, gives us modern day monks a very hard time. Open, 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 open. Yeah, I like it this time of night to talk because it's nice and peaceful. It's just when I like working when the world's asleep.
Yeah.
Why are we having this issue today? You've read books on Buddhism, yes?
Yeah. And to be honest, I haven't finished one of them.
Do you tend to start one thing and then go to the next, go to the
Yeah,
next, go to the next?
completely. Completely.
Completely.
Yeah. My
Oh
curiosity
man.
gets piqued at a certain point. So it's like this. I asked you a few weeks ago what book you were talking about. So I started What Buddhists Believe. Anyways, I got about a third of the way through, and that's when I started thinking, okay, I'm understanding this, but I'm still not understanding how meditation fits in with it. And that's where I feel completely ridiculous because
Okay.
meditation should be the core, right?
It is. It is. All right. We'll get to that. Let me grab my iPad real quick because everything's failing over here on this end.
Okay.
I wanted to reread something.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. This is not working now. Okay. Aha. Recommendation on actual practice of the noble truth and the eightfold path. Okay. Hard time focusing narrowing thought when I'm meditating. Focusing and narrowing my thoughts. So your thoughts are jumping back, forth. What's going on with these thoughts? The content of these thoughts.
Yeah. So I feel like I don't know what I'm supposed to be thinking about. So sometimes I find, and maybe it's just the way I'm used to, you read to learn and then you sit and think and you take notes and things like that. But I find once I start thinking about something, then I think about something else and it just sort of snowballs.
Mm. Okay,
But it's
got it.
not it's not like an introspective thinking. I just I'm curious about everything almost kind of thinking. So I don't find that it's really.
Okay, got it. Got it.
Does
I'm
that make
also
sense?
curious. Yeah, I got it. Got it. I'm also curious about how to study. Do you read a portion of the text, take note to document your understanding of it? Da, 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 da. Okay, all right. Okay, all right, all right. I got it. I had to switch mode from what these are fun questions and fun stuff for me to tackle. I'm like an urgent care monk, so like 911 monk. So usually I don't get these fun questions, and so I have to switch mode in my brain to, oh, okay, all right, basic level and stuff like that. Usually I get suicides and homicidal thoughts and stuff like that. Very serious psychiatric cases, um,
Yeah. No, that's
heavy cases.
I'm not in that space.
Oh, no, it's just for me as it's like certain teachers or certain physicians take care of certain problems, but as a spiritual advisor or counselor, especially in this tradition that dates back 2,500 years old, I have to know a broad, like 84,000 teachings and pull out whatever it is. I have to match where you're at in life and select the right teachings for you, right modality of teaching for you, your level of comprehension and understanding. So that's where the trick lies. So I just have to pull back up your message there. We're gonna proceed here shortly. I just want to pull
You're
up.
no rush.
I just want to pull up something I posted a couple days ago on my timeline on sacredtexts.org or .com or something like that. And this thing goes into deep details of which I neglect to go into deep details on the Four Noble Truths until I reviewed it earlier today, actually. So your questions are going to concur with what's happening right now. The
Okay.
word. Okay. So when you go onto my timeline a day ago, you will see sacred texts. Okay. Sacred-texts.com. And of course, it has all the sacred texts of every religion you can imagine. But now, when you go to Buddhism, you're gonna see the modern works. It's kind of like right in the middle of the page. You click on Buddha, and then comma the Word by Paul Carus. Paul Carus is the author, and all right, you're familiar with the Four Noble Truths. You get it intellectually, right?
Yeah, I think I understand it, and I understand where the eightfold path um, fits into it.
All right. Um.
Yeah, it's funny because I find a lot of this is just it's what basic humanity should be, and it's what we teach our kids. Be careful with your words, and work hard, and the right speech, right actions, that type of stuff, right? But then it gets into another section, and I can't remember what it is, but I find that, yeah, I just sort of get stuck to a point. I'm like, how do you meditate on this
Ah,
without becoming so overwhelmed of all of the wrong things or the sad things that are happening in the whole world. You know what I mean? Like, I
got it.
feel like I've gone too far outside of
Got it.
myself.
Got it. Got it.
I don't know.
Uh, okay, got it. It's very easy for us to get swept away into the currents of our external world, just because number one, we were programmed to think
Yes.
negatively in the first place. Okay, to ensure our survival, our brain plays all these games, and it's like, yeah, you always got to be vigilant, and watch out. There's crime rates over here, sex offenders over here, robberies over here. So yeah, so when you're studying the noble truth, the first, for example, the first noble truth, which is what I have in front of me. Yeah, we do get kind of swept away because now we're finding examples in our society, and we're just like, this is a little too much. And if Buddhism is about happiness, why are we going through all these pain and suffering, the descriptions, and into the true nature of reality of being human? The Buddha just want us to see things as they are. Just clear comprehension, clear view of what they are. Because
Right.
the first thing is to not fall into illusion and to fall into delusion. So uh, the three poison in Buddhism is greed, anger, and delusion. And delusion means ignorance, and ignorance means not seeing the Four Noble Truth clearly. Okay, so for example, I'm holding here the text that I just told you, and bear with me because it's going to be a little dry, but it's not. It's very important.
That's okay.
First truth, the noble truth of suffering. Birth is suffering, decay is suffering, death is suffering, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair are suffering. Not to get what one desires is suffering. In short, the five groups of existence are suffering. Then it goes into details like the birth of beings belonging to this or that order of beings is suffering, which is like people who are born in India, the caste system is like, darn, I was born into a category that don't even have a caste system. I'm like a nobody. Okay, that's the order of beings. Their being born, their conception and springing into existence, the manifestation of the groups of existence, the arising of sense activity. This is called birth. Now, of course, when it comes to birth, there's also, genetic birth defects and autism, um, just the nature of growing, just from a fetus to a from embryo to every there's something along the way. You know, lucky if you have five fingers and five toes. Okay. What is decay? Decay of being belonging to this or that order of being. They're getting aged, frail, gray, and wrinkled. The failing of their vital force, the wearing out of the senses. This is called decay. And then death, the parting and vanishing of beings out of this or that order of being. Their destruction, disappearance, death, the completion of their life period, dissolution of the groups of existence, the discarding of the body. This is called death. And then sorrow, pain, and despair. You can only imagine the examples that the Buddha gave. Yes?
Yeah.
All right. So, is this depressing to read? No. These are things are that is inevitably going to happen to all of us and to all beings. All beings are subject to this. Okay. And it is very wise to meditate on the Four Noble Truths. I just only read to you just like that portion, just a small portion alone, on the first Noble Truth. This reminds me as a teacher, and this is really good. Our conversation is going to be very profound tonight because I failed to actually stop and go through this as what people should be doing right now, not you, but everyone else, is supposed to be closing their eyes and hearing these words about birth, death, pain, grief, despair. We run away from our problems. That's the first problem. Okay, we run away from all these things that are inevitably going to happen or is happening now. We don't accept it. We tend to look the other way. We go out and we gamble, have sex, alcohol dependence, drug addiction to cover up the pain that we inevitably is subject to. Buddhism, the Buddha want you to face all these things head on, just head on. Okay. Um, and you just accept it. You're like, oh, dang, this is what it's like to be human, and that I am, I'm aging normally and aging gracefully, and I'm expecting certain things to not be as effective and efficient. You know, like for example, our bodies, we dump millions of dollars into dermatology. We're like anti-aging medicine era, thinking that we're going to preserve our youths forever. Well, we have fallen gravely into our own delusion. We have run away from the fear of old age and subsequent failing of our bodies. And what the Buddha taught is that your body's going to betray you. Have you grasped that? Have you see that clearly? And if we were to meditate on the body, which is asubha bhavana, we would um we would really use examples in our lives how certain days we don't want our bodies to get sick. You wake up and you're like, well, if this is my body, whatever is yours, you're in control of. So that morning when you needed to not get sick and you gave the command of, hey, hello, you're not going to get sick today, you understand? And your body just doesn't listen to you, and then you're angry with your body. Okay. So that's one example of the in the first noble truth. Are you following? Yeah. Um
Yeah.
uh, we teachers, typically when we teach the first noble truth and people can get past it, we're like, yes, now we can move on to the second one. Because usually, typically people in the West, Canadian, Americans, United Kingdom, usually people, it's a big pill to swallow. It's a difficult pill to swallow, you know, because our society paints this picture that is oppositional of what the Buddha taught. Okay. Uh,
Yes.
if you look at examples around you, for example, I'm sorry to be morbid, by the way. Some of the examples I give is quite morbid and very realistic. But if you look at funeral settings, they make the person look like they're sleeping, and it's just like, it's very superficial, artificial, you name it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So therefore, we don't really get a chance to reflection. I think when you're describing to me um, some of the things that you're going through, I'm guessing, taking a good guess, that do you reflect a lot? What you did, where you've been,
Yeah.
how you can improve yourself. Did I live my life to the fullest? Is there any more I could have done?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good. I mean, when it comes to superficial things and stuff like that, I think also in our society, it's you know we've probably all lost people that were young,
Mm.
even in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and you just think, somebody who's my age, or I'm only 40 right now, but I have lived longer than some other people. Like that's a blessing, right?
Yeah, wiser than people your age. 'Cause you probably went through a lot in life. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not even that. I mean, there really haven't been, tragedies or anything like that. It just, I think I just see it for what it is. These things are inevitable, and I've just never,
Mhm. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's not some divine being. I've never believed in, that type of thing either.
Mm.
where you are and the things that have happened are usually just a culmination of the choices that you've made. And it doesn't mean that it's bad or good, or it's life. I just, I think my biggest fear is like, you don't know what's going to happen when you die. And it's just, when other people die, life goes on. But then I'm also afraid of losing people and having life go on without them.
Hmm. So you
You
are
know what I mean?
you are attached to your own sense of self, and you are attached to other people. It's
Yes.
normal.
Not things by any means, but yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, that's
Like my
normal.
parents,
Right, 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 right. Yeah. Yeah, 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 as expected, that's everyone in society. Yeah, you're supposed to miss them or
exactly.
anticipate or fear their deaths because um we were built to care for our own groups, and our parents are our own groups and stuff like that. So Buddhism prepares you. Buddhism, something's going on outside my door. Someone's bringing something really heavy and dropping them. um Buddhism prepares you. Buddhism try to cushion that fall. Try to cushion that fall because say someone dies tomorrow. You have to pretend like someone's gonna die tomorrow. A human is just like a vehicle, any vehicle. Have you ever woke up one morning and your vehicle didn't start? Then
Well, no, not yet.
oh, okay. So if you expect your vehicle, whatever it is, a Mercedes, a Rolls Royce, or Toyota, or a Honda, and you buy the darn thing and you're expecting it, really have this rigid expectation that yeah, every morning it's gonna start, and then one morning it doesn't start, and you're just furious to no end, throwing stuff, causing you peace, ruin your whole day, brooding the amount of money you dump into it, maintenance, the finest oil you can find, Castro synthetic oil you can find, dumping into it. You know, man, it's gonna be a bad day for you. We've seen a lot of bad days here in the West of people who wake up in, for example, or a boat. I put you on a boat and you expect the boat not to leak. Then when it actually leaks, you're panicking. You're just like, well, I really expect this $500,000 boat not to leak, and so therefore I didn't bring any life jackets. So I guess I'm gonna learn the floating technique, or I better learn how to float real quick before SOS, can find me. Okay. So Buddhism prepares you, uh, again, tough pill to swallow, but not everyone lasts forever. The Buddha taught, learn to be by yourself because not everyone lasts forever. You um, I just want to give you an example today that happened. And today, I met a woman. Well, her husband came to the temple, and her husband talked to me. And I kind of picked his brain because he was a professor. He was a engineering professor, had a PhD, and I was like, "Ooh, you know about Buddhism? I want to pick your brain." So I actually wanted to be the student, and I let him be the teacher. So I asked him about these things, and I'm like, "What do you think about the Four Noble Truths?" I asked all the questions that you asked, and he answered them straight on point. And then when I asked him about meditation, he's like, "I don't really meditate," and I was like, "Oh." And in my mind, I was a little disappointed. I was like, "Oh, I was hoping that he did, so that I can pick his brain about his experience in it too." The gentleman, Mr. Home, subsequently died this year, not too long ago, like 6 months ago. He passed away. So then I got to meet his wife today, and his wife was, still very distraught. She lowered her hair, meaning she shaved her head, and it grew back another like inch. She's with another school of Buddhism. She is not from Theravada tradition. I won't mention what tradition, just so that I don't want to cause any wars here. Okay. I like
That's
to
good.
be welcome at other temples. I don't want them to be like, yeah, since you said this about our school, you're not welcome here. Um,
Yeah, we saw your TikTok.
um, so she belongs to this other school, while me and her husband belong to the school of elders, the originals, the root, basically where it's all started. So I'm just listening to her, and and I'm finding where the practice is not. She's not yielding any results from the practice clearly, and the things that they have taught in that school of Buddhism, all sorts of rituals and stuff like that. That basically, to summarize it, waste of time, a waste of life, and a waste of time. And her active suffering is still active. So clearly she wanted to hear it, but then she did not want to hear it, and I was just trying. And then she tells me, she's like, "Oh, you and my husband would get along just fine because he follows your school." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." Typically, yeah, I kind of slide a couple Freudian slips in there, see if she gets it. And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, usually, smart people, wise people, they tend to veer towards school of elders, meditate and liberate ourselves from pain." And so, I went on and on, but I don't think it's a big wall there to try to penetrate, because she's so ingrained into the cultural beliefs in that particular school. My point is that because she did not practice the right way. My point is that because she did not see the Four Noble Truth clearly, she asked me, she's like, "Why did I fall so hard?" And the meaning of her fall is like, she is this book, she's all the way up here, and then we drop the book and it hits really hard on the ground and it damages the book. Well, that's one way to describe her emotional pain and suffering, the depth of her suffering, the intensity of her suffering, because she thought that her husband was going to probably last forever or last until they. Well, she did say that. She said, "I thought that we were going to grow old together and subsequently even die together." These were her exact words. And so clearly she did not see the First Noble Truth, subject to, all of these things. And clearly she did not practice death meditation. And clearly she did not reflect on her own death and the death of anyone in the home that she's living with. Right? I've taught this on TikTok. I said, I walked in the cemetery and I said that, um, sorry, I'm falling apart.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Wardrobe malfunction.
Yes, yes. The nature of robes. I can feel it falling apart behind me. Okay, so um, I've taught that. I've walked in the middle of the cemetery giving a talk on how to treat your loved ones. And some people are like, why are you in the cemetery?" And I said adamantly, I said, love them like as if it is their last day. If today was the last day to live, how would you treat them? What would you say? We love each other, but do you say enough of it? Right? Do you give them that kiss like it's the end of the world kiss, like last day? I've experienced that, so I know. That I had a girlfriend that I always wake up late. She had will wake up early for work, and just that, I mean, just that kiss, I'd never forget it. I have experienced true love before becoming a venerable, and it was just that kiss, like, mwah, like, yeah, yeah, I really love you a lot, and have a great day, and I can't wait to see you again at the end of the day when I come back home, kind of kiss. Very profound, very deep. And how many people do that on a daily basis? And likewise, if we treat the one that we love or we care about, anyone, parents, son, daughters, and stuff like that, and looking at them and realize that they might not last forever, we would do things very differently. so so this is why we meditate on the four protective meditation functions. Meditation on death is one of them. Wherever your fear lies, we aim exactly where the fear lies and we address the fear head on. um, It's gonna be one of the bravest thing you ever do in your life. Like me, like all of us who are scared. I mean, I used to be scared to no end about my parents dying. Like, oh, who's gonna take care of me? I'm the only child in the family. Like, it's like, oh my God, Dad, did you teach me everything I need to know so I can like sprout wings and fly away from the nest here? Um, but I can tell you that after I've been meditating for 18 years, and I had to do all the homework that I'm assigning people and telling you everything, you know, uh, that it brought a lot of comfort. Um, I was born and raised Catholic, and so again, the fear of death that you mentioned is like, half my family's Buddhist and the other half is Catholic. Well, majority is Catholic, and only a few. And I'm like, I always pondered as a young child. I was like, so when I die, does that mean Buddha's gonna yank this arm and Jesus gonna yank the other arm? Like, are they gonna fight over me? Like, I don't really know what's going on. I don't really have a definitive answer where I'm gonna be going. And it's like, yeah, in the Christianity or Catholic world, it's like, let's bury and resurrect. And then in Buddhism, it's like poof, cremation. And I'm like, huh, kind of painful. And the other one stuck in a box 6 feet under. It's without my PlayStation, I don't sit well with that. Um, so so when we look at the teachings on karma, when we look at the realms of rebirth, when we look at the rebirth realm of animals, something that we can very see, something that if you pay attention to animals, their nature, style, disposition, character, you can see the evidence of the personality that they have. Sometimes very similar to humans. Sometimes, actually, one, because so my dog's really smart. My dog's name is Bailey, and Bailey is like super smart, super conscious, super cautious and conscious and vigilant. And then we have the my assistants' dogs, and they're like airheads. Like they're like airheads, like they're lost, that they just want to have fun. You throw a ball and the ball goes underneath the car. They would probably like just make a direct impact into the car instead of trying to go around it like my dog would. So we've seen these we've seen these characteristics in animals, and we also see similarities of it in humans. We've seen humans who are extremely intelligent, socially intelligent, um, uh, socially intelligent. What's the other one? Emotionally intelligent. And then we've seen some humans who are like not really all there. I mean, because of their own causes and conditions, that they look kind of lost, or someone will never get the point. The neurons are not firing, the synapses, neurological issues. I mean, this talk goes into great depth into the rebirth realms of however you were, you know, in your last life that led to this lifetime. Um, so and then of course we have scientific evidence of rebirth from children as from University of Virginia, as young or as old as these kids could start speaking. 5, 6 years old, they were able to recall who killed. We got kids like, hey, you see that scar on my head? Yeah, I got murdered. I got hit in the head right here, and I died over there. Um, and that's the guy that did it. So these researchers went out and they're like, okay, little Joey, let's have at it. And they dug up the body and they dug up the bones, and they were able to see the blunt force trauma, the indent, and the scarring or the hole that is indicative of that blow, the fatal blow that caused the death of the child. The measurement of the bones or indicative of that age. Da, 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 da. So we have dozens and dozens of reports around the world of these rebirths. And of course, their memories fade as they get older. It is quite difficult to refute these evidences. And of course, everything I'm telling you, I also like for you to make your own investigation and curiosity into, hmm, well, if this is the claim in Buddhism, let's find evidence to support it. Everything in Buddhism is scientific. Okay. Even if I was a Buddha sitting in front of you, even if I was like an arahant, fully enlightened being, don't believe anything I say. Your job is not to believe anything I say. If I was the Buddha himself, don't take my word for it. He said that in the Kalama Sutta. So your job is to test out everything that the Buddha said. Your job is to prove if the Four Noble Truth is wrong and the Noble Eightfold Path is wrong. Your job is to prove rebirth doesn't exist or there's nothing to support rebirths. Okay. Um, and so this is how we get close to finding an answer of what it's like to die and what happens to us when we die. Okay. And in Buddhism, our consciousness continues. It's like a flame that's lit by another flame, and it just continues. Streams of consciousness. The dissolution of the body, get it, it's gone. But the knowledge that you have accumulated in this lifetime will carry with you um, into your next rebirth if you don't achieve enlightenment in this lifetime. And of course, your karma, good and bad deeds, so on and so on. And you are to do this with every religion, because right now you're telling me, I'm not religious, trying Buddhism. We look at the Catholic world, Christianity world, resurrection, the promise of resurrection, repenting your sins and stuff. Your job is to investigate these things with any religion. Either it be Christianity, people who are Muslim, the Quran. You ask yourself, your job is to investigate and see which one you resonate with, which one you sit well with evidence based with you. 'Cause I don't take anything off of pure faith, you know, or blind faith. you know as I get older and with the training and education that I have coming from a very good college, especially in research and psychology and scientific methods, I would tell you I am a person that, hmm, you know oh, we have proof of that. Okay, does that make sense so far?
Gotcha. It does. It does.
Okay. uh, do you have any questions so far on what we have covered before I move on to the types of meditations?
No,
All right. You feel free to stop.
not yet.
Got it. You feel free to stop me at any time. To any clarification, stop me right away and be like, hey, let's rewind for a little bit. Okay. Now, we've been on, you've been on, I've been on, all of us have been on this wheel of working, having kids, family, just living life as human, living this life. And our thought processes, we're just 100 miles an hour, thinking about things, getting the bills paid, money management, trying to manage our emotions, manage our friends, manage our family, all these things. Then, somewhere down the line, now you have this moment where you're like, hmm, something's missing. What am I missing? Because it doesn't feel right. Am I just existing? Hmm. We kind of get these. Yeah, we get these. Huh. So your job is to investigate your mind, investigate how your mind is jumping. Your job is to find the root cause, the links of influence that led to where you are today. Starting back from childhood. You may have to sit there and journal and draw a timeline in chronological order, just to look at the blueprint of your life so far. Um, Meditation aims to kind of slow down those thought process. A person who is not mindful is as good as a person who is dead, deceased. Okay? You're not really fully enjoying life. You're not really fully enjoying in the present moment, knowing what's going on, what's happening. Don't have insight. A lot of and then one thought leads to another jumping thought, and then you get lost in your thought, and you're just like, I have a headache now. it's not it's not good. There's no quality of life there. So the first type of meditation is tranquility meditation, called samatha. Okay, samatha. Samatha is but the method is mindfulness of the breath. Very basic, easy said than done, and it aims to just
Yes.
slow down your mind a little bit so that you can achieve some clarity in your life. Okay. Um, and of course, before starting samatha meditation, again, look. I teach people to take a piece of paper, write down your life, and put me in the middle of this sheet of paper, and then start drawing lines out. And start, putting friends, families, kids, and the details of your life, and try to cut back some of these noises. Okay, the girl talk, the shopping, the drama, the soap operas, and our favorite TV shows. Start cutting the external noises so that um, you can start listening to the internal noises as you meditate. Okay, because as you meditate, you get all sorts of things. It's the nature of the mind to produce rivers of thoughts, the past, future, everything but the present moment. When
Funny how that works.
well, we know from science literature that what like 60% of the time is anxiety, which is apprehension of the future, trying to think what's going on in the near future. You're taking a shower and you're like, oh man, I got a bill like 3 more days. Crap, I gotta go pay my bills. you know, you're doing this and you're like, oh, I gotta go pick up Joey. We're always anticipating, so that's takes up most of the our thoughts. Then like 35% is recycling of the past. So the present moment really doesn't have a chance. Very hard. Um, very hard trying to put the brakes on the mind, trying to down, slow down the mind to achieve clarity. Mindfulness of the breath has four techniques. Well, or at least I teach four techniques. Some teachers just teach one. I teach four so that people can choose whatever they resonate with, whatever works well for them. And the first one is breathing in. I know I'm breathing in. As you sit in a relaxed posture, back straight, shoulders relaxed, everything's relaxed. Taking your first three deep breaths. We then we take our in breath, breathing in. I know I'm breathing in. And then you exhale, breathing out. I know I'm breathing out. Why do we have to say we know? Just because, well, half the time we don't know that we're breathing. And most of the time we don't know we're breathing. Most of the time we don't even know that we're walking. That's why people walk into traffic. When you're washing the dishes, are you actually washing the dishes?
No, I'm thinking of something else.
There you have it.
Past or future. Yeah.
So it's funny, we see doctors too. Doctors verbalize what they need, scalpel. Doctors verbalize things. Doctors, dictate. Then the doctors are very aware of what they're doing. Can you imagine if our doctors were not mindful? Big problem. Can you imagine if our SWAT team is not mindful, trying to save you as a hostage? They're coming into a room with five doors, hallway, and they're yelling to each other like, "Left door clear." right door clear. That way everyone knows, okay, all right, we know that's clear. We know that's clear. Let's move on to the next one. Let's try to find her. Okay. They're very mindful in their strategies and tactics. We humans also adopt mindfulness techniques so that we can conquer our day. Breathing in, you know you're breathing in, breathing out, you know you're breathing out. Method number two, I'm getting really spiritually old. Um, the counting method. In breath one, out breath one. In breath two, out breath two. All the way to 10 and then backwards. Easy said than done. Once you try that and you're like, whoa, I just lost lost count. Okay. Um, because you see that 60% of anxiety, try to jump in there and get you out of your element. Okay. Um, Third method is analyzing the temperature of the air that you breathe through your nostrils. Hmm. What temperature are you in your room right now?
Warm.
It's warm. What constitutes warm? We have a number for warm? 80? 79?
We have a number. Oh yeah, I'm Canada. I'm Celsius. I don't know what Fahrenheit is. Anyways, it's summer. It's hot.
Uh, so the question I have for you is, have you ever?
Maybe about 20.
Okay, it's all right.
If I ever want.
But are you aware when you walk into certain medical offices, or and you're like, "Ooh, kind of chilly," and you start guessing the temperature, you're like, "Huh, must be like."
Yes.
Yeah, right. Okay, good. Because when I teach the third method, people are like, I it just never occurred to me that the temperature in the room is, like, you know. All right. Now, that's a really fun method. I really like analyzing the temperature of the room or the air that we breathe, because you're giving, again, all of these method or one pointed concentration techniques to keep the mind still, giving the mind an objective to stay on. Okay. It's like, little Joey, come here.
Okay.
Just color the elephant blue. Just blue. Okay. So that's what we're trying to do to the monkey brain.
I feel like I've had that conversation. Okay.
The fourth technique is very much the same as the first technique. It's a Thailand technique. In breath but, out breath to. But to. Okay. Now, when this young teacher did that, I did it for 13 years. I didn't get all the fun stuff that I just told you. I did the fourth technique for 13 painstaking years, every day religiously, except Sundays, for 30 minutes. No, from 7:30 to 8, as we chanted from 7 to 7:30. So, yeah, yeah. Butto. So,
Can you do that one again? I'm sorry. I think my
sure,
internet may have froze you for a minute.
sure. But
You kind of turned into a robot for a second there.
oh, it's okay. But and then Butto means Butto means Buddha in Thailand. Um, oh, my robe's ugly. Butto means Buddha in Thailand, and a Buddha is one which knows. So breathing in, I know I'm breathing out. Yeah, yeah, one which knows. Um, I find that easy for me because I did it for 13 years. Butto. And then previously, I taught to a police officer in Michigan. I gave her the mala beads, and in the Mahayanan tradition in Vietnam, when people are really stressed out, really angry, they grab these mala beads and they would would well, they say another different term, but it's the same concept. Just buy them some time to calm down and chill out. So Butto is the fourth technique. Do we have any questions so far in regards to the tranquility meditation?
Do you do that for a half an hour every day? The same, like you don't allow yourself to really think. You just focus on training your mind to just stay, I guess, focused on exactly what you're doing, like the counting or
Hmm.
breathing in. I know I'm breathing in. And is that as far as your meditation goes until you sort of are able to focus just on that?
All right. So you start out gradually. You be your own teacher. You start out gradually, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. For a working mom or a working gal, you want to look at your schedule and see what how much time that is allotted for meditation. I recommend you do it before you go to work or school, and do it after work and school, before going to work and school, and after. Before,
Okay.
why? Because it increases your focus. Okay, focus your if it, you're centered. You know how you're going to conquer your day. Take a minute for yourself, reflect, rewind, you know, clear head, awaken as you conquer the day or try to conquer the day. At the end of the day, you do it, so that you get rid of negative acquired bad habits, get rid of negative acquired bad emotions all in one day. You and I both know all in one day, a lot of things can happen. People say certain things, people offend you, people jump out in front of traffic, people call you names, or you calling them names. So we take all this home and we dump it on our kids, and so again, meditation aims to just simply drop things. We're not gaining anything. Our job is just to drop things, drop negative emotions, drop negative bad habits, let go. All this to take steps in letting go. Um, Let me see here if I forgot anything. Does that make sense so far?
It does. It does.
During meditation, when thoughts arise, any thoughts, thoughts about a divorce, thoughts about Susan, Betsy, Karen, your job is to observe them without judgment. You are the person. You are you are the expert person, who is expert. You're the expert witness, pedestrian. Your job is just to observe traffic. A wise person does not jump into traffic and try to stop traffic. Okay, so traffic is the thoughts. So don't try to jump in front of a car and be like, "Hey, I want to know what the driver looks like." Okay, we get ourselves in trouble and carried away when we start analyzing certain thoughts because now we have clung on to them. Okay, clinging on to them. Right.
Yes.
Um. Okay, then. So that is samatha meditation. That's that. That's the first thing. Reflect on the Four Noble Truths weekly. I've had someone told me that, and I was like, "Ah, it never occurred to me. I should tell people to do it weekly." Someone told me that on TikTok. They're like, "I meditate on the Four Noble Truths weekly. I read it every week." I was like, "You read it every week?" I was like, "Whoa, wow. Where's my trophy? I need to send it to you." Yeah, because why? Because we humans simply
Okay.
forget. We do. We forget. I forget. This is why. Matter of fact, the
Yeah.
what Buddhist belief book that you got. I'm not sure if you got the newest fourth edition. It's got to be the newest one, the fourth edition. But it's like thicker, and I'm flipping through them and I'm rereading
I
it.
don't know.
Okay, well I'm rereading it and I'm just like, ah, Four Noble Truths. I get so much comfort when I'm rereading this over and over and over again. And I failed as a teacher. See, I'm not perfect. Never will be. I failed to actually go into details of what I just read to you earlier because I teach so fast and I don't have a lot of time with my Western students. that when I summarize the Four Noble Truths, I make it really fun, and I fail to go into details. So I'm going to be dedicating going into details very soon, and by details I mean, you know, like I'm just gonna grab my iPad and just read from it, and have everyone sit there and practice deep listening skills. So what am I doing here? I'm trying to download the Four Noble Truth into all y'all's ears. Okay, that's how we download the software, the teachings of the Buddha. We download it. Okay, don't open your eyes. Don't look at me. Don't don't. That's when monks give the Dharma talks. We put a fan in front of our face, so you separate the message from the messenger. Right? Certain people sit and they're just like, "Oh my God, he's so young. He's so cute." Okay, okay, no. Okay. Um, um, but yeah, it's good. This is why I told people, hey, reach out, talk to me, and if you don't have any questions, such as yourself, makes me become a better, more improved teacher for the rest of the world. Again, when I go through the Four Noble Truth, I teach it to young people, and I'm like, the first one means life sucks. The second one means life sucks because we want stuff. Number three, if you don't want life to suck, stop wanting stuff. And number four, the path to peace is the Noble Eightfold Path. And they all giggle, 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 giggle. Then I break it down a little bit more simpler, and I'm like, well, life sucks because there's birth, decay, old age, death. And then they're like, oh. But I never actually make them sit down because I know how people in the West are very sensitive and they can't handle a lot of things. They can't handle our type of training or the rigidity of the practice. But we monks, for example, we to get the point of impermanence, one of the three marks of existence, impermanence. Not all things last forever. All things conditioned are subject to impermanence, like our body, like death. We literally meditate in front of a dead, decaying, actively decaying corpse within like a couple feet from us, and we are to absorb all of that in the bones, the maggots, the smell, the image of it, and it's like the point here is, hey, venerable, do you get it now? Do you get that this is you that you're meditating on? Can you see bones within you? Can you see that you're going to die and your mortality, looking at your mortality? You do that to anyone in the West. I mean, just the 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 talk of it alone, people are like, okay, I think I'm done studying
Give
Buddhism.
them all PTSD.
Yeah. So I have to be, as a teacher, I have to be really skillful and try to make it fun, not as dry, and to engage people as much as possible. But sometimes a lot of things get left out. You can only imagine a tradition that far, that long, and so it's a that's why it's a practice, just like practicing law and practicing medicine. You know. Um, okay. Then there's the four protective meditation function. All right. So previously I just said meditate on the Four Noble Truths and literally go through them like in details, which could take years. I mean, it's easy cheating ourselves. It's easy to just go, yeah, okay. I'm just going to, um, huh, and then, and then check mark. We know how we cheat ourselves. We humans are very good at that. We find all sorts of excuses. So,
And that's exactly how I feel when I sit down to think about it. But it's like I can think about what I've read because
mm,
I can remember what I read.
mm.
But it's how do you sit and meditate on that for years? Like that's where I'm like, no, I'm missing something. So do I sit and try and think about what I'm suffering about or other
Well,
people?
well,
If
well.
that makes no sense, please just carry on.
It does. Makes perfect sense. Yeah, you don't know where to start because this is so overwhelming. We call that information overload. That's why you need a guidance of a teacher that follow up with you every week. That's what I do to people. I teach them. I give them the same instructions that I've given you. You go back to the whole library of teachings on my Facebook. You're gonna see all these talks. I had one-on-one with people, and I'm like, yeah, okay, well, let's touch base within a week and let's see where you're at. And they're supposed to have these readings. They're supposed to meditate and report back to me whether or not they've meditated. uh, See, self-discipline comes into question, and not a lot of them are disciplined in the practice, so therefore they're just, so they don't reach out like they're supposed to. And like, oh yeah, soccer practice. Okay. All these excuses that I have heard many times before. I hold them responsible, and that somewhere down the line, they're kind of like, we've fallen off the wagon. And it's okay, to skip weeks, even months, but reel yourself back in. If you want peace, reel yourself back in. The teachings of the Buddha is called the Dharma. So come back. It's okay. Come back, reel it in. Or they wait for the next thing that happens to them, and then they're like, oh crap, that last breakup really sucked. And now I really have to reach out to the venerable. Usually, they hit some sort of a rock bottom, and they tend to come back. um, so for you, because your question was, well, how does meditation fit in? And I'm just giving you a broad overview. But you would start off for yourself as a beginner, meditation of the breath. What we want here is to slow down your train of thoughts, your speed of thoughts, and we're trying to see what those contents of those thoughts really actually are. So you write them down when you're having all these thoughts and stuff like that. Then we try to trace these thoughts. We try to trace whatever it is that's bothering you, whatever emptiness that you're feeling, loneliness, emptiness, anger, resentment, hurt. We try to trace the root cause of it with the practice of dependent origination. We're trying to look at the links of influence that led to where you are, because, well, you haven't reflected. Again, running away from the pain and the past. All of us do it. I hit rock bottom really hard 6 years ago when my grandmother died and my best friend died, and these people just couldn't find a better time to die while I was senior year in college. So I took a deep suicidal nosedive, and then I had to get away from everything, everyone, and I sat there and I looked back at all of my relationships, and I'm like, how on God's earth did I get to where I am? So I took out a pen and a piece of paper, and I basically retraced since coming to America. Age 7 was when I started remembering things. And I'm like, well, who did I date, and how was school, and how was mommy and dad, and they fought in divorce or petition for divorce. I started tracing everything, and I'm like, ha, based on the causes and conditions, that's why I acted that way at that age. Okay, finding answers to some of these questions that I had, because I was like, who am I? Like, why do I think the way that I do? Okay, and why did I behave like that? It was the behavior that was like, okay, all right, need to like figure this out quite fairly quickly. I knew that if I didn't figure this out and start tracing back, then I would never get the answers that I needed to be secure in the knowledge of who I am, how I got to be just, hey, what programmed me to think a certain way. Okay, so that these are very important things. Um, does that make sense so far?
Yes.
Any confusion?
No, I think it's more. Yeah, it makes sense. It's not that it seems like a lot of work. I just didn't realize that looking backwards is where you're really going to uncover anything. You know, it makes sense. I just never thought about it.
Because if we don't look backwards and we proceed on this point forward, we would be operating on the same system, and one would ask scientifically, well, how does wisdom arise? It's kind of difficult. It's kind of difficult. And how do you forgive? Like, how do you forgive? Um, I mean, I have many examples of that. It's like my mom, and like we never got along. So I had to I had to retrace my steps with my mom, and I'm like, how did that woman got to where? What's going on here? Why all this picking sides in the family? Why does she not like my dad's side of the family? Why is she this? Why the defense mechanism inside of her psychology does wonders, by the way. Um, yeah, yeah. So I had to retrace all these things to find answers why my mom behaved the way that she does, and her parenting method and techniques. You know, because I can't imagine, for my own experience, proceeding if had I not done my homework about these past issues. I would just look at my mom and get more angry and be like, human trait that we long for. It's like, why did you kill? Why did you lie? Why did you steal? Okay. We do that on the news. We watch the news and we're like, how dare you? How dare you do this? Da, 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 da. In Buddhism, we look past the behavior and into the person. Okay. Look past the behavior and into the person to figure out why. So, but yes,
Okay,
unless
I
you,
see what you're saying.
mm,
So when you really get to that point, the behavior, it's almost a no-brainer. You would like, well, you would expect this behavior if this is the chain of events that sort of led to conditioning the person the way that they have.
yes. So I invite you to actually try this method from this young teacher sitting in front of you to see if you get any insight, if how well it works out. Again, it's not a one size fit all, but I found this everything is concurrent with the teachings of the Buddha. Um, these are methods that he taught, and did I miss something when I shaved?
Yeah.
I feel like I missed like a strand.
You can't see it from the camera.
I know it. I can feel it.
Don't worry about
All right. So so it's a method. It's a method um, um, of meditation, so that we try to get you kind of structured. Again, the mind jumps, and we're trying to structure your mind so that it doesn't jump. We're trying to mitigate all the factors that can lead to jumping, and the way how the monkey brain behaves the way that it does, so that it doesn't get out of hand and get overwhelming. Um, and sometimes you have to trust the process, and sometimes you just have to have some faith and confidence and belief in it. And if the teacher tell you to just go and sit and just focus on the breath, with enough willpower, you discipline yourself to just sit there and just meditate on the breath, and to accept certain things and not to resist it. um, if you resist it, it's not going to turn out too well. um, and you just and slowly, it just takes time for things to set into motion to start getting better. It's not, again, in American culture, Western culture, we want a quick pill. It's like, sick, okay, all right, how about the symptoms go away in like the next hour? We want things right away. So when we sit and we meditate, and we're not achieving peace right away, we're like, okay, all right, time to go play soccer. um, the results vary depending on how committed you are and how disciplined you are in the practice, simply put. Um, and of course, you got like apps out there. You have Me that gives guided meditation. You know, you have music. You can meditate to music. Anything that gets you on this wheel of meditation, even if it starts off not the right way, but it's gonna get to the right. Like some people, when I tell them to meditate on loving kindness, it's a little difficult, especially when there's active enemies like an ex-wife or an ex-lover or ex-husband. So I'm like, all right, let's bring in some music, which is um. So I get them to kind of like it a little bit, and they're like, it's so peaceful. And then when they hear the translation of the chant of metta, chant of loving kindness, they get really emotional, and now their hearts moved in some way, and it leads to change. People change when their hearts move. Okay. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to give that remarks before introducing to you the four protective meditation functions. So yeah, just take it one by one, and this is why this is recorded tonight because I knew I was going to be giving this talk. I knew the trajectory,
Okay.
the path that this conversation would be, and I usually, people who have these type of questions, so that they can go back to this talk and they're like, "What did he say again?" Like, how do you grab my pen again? Let me write that down again. Okay. Uh,
I've been taking some notes.
I was the same way. I was. I mean,
I'll watch this again.
yeah. Uh, yeah. So you just try not to jump the gun, because again, people want they just want to know. They crave to know. It's like I want. And certain people they text me, they message me, they're like, "Venerable, I'm ready for the next teaching, for the advanced level teaching, the intermediate level teaching." When the basics they haven't gotten down. And I've told this in my last, I think, the last two live videos. I said, if you tell me that you're ready, I will cross-examine you, like as if we're in court, you know. So, and I've given an example. I'm like, okay, well, I told you to go to law school. I told you to graduate law school. And if you tell me that, yeah, you've graduated law school, and now as an experienced judge, I'm going to question you about certain rules of criminal procedures, and I will ask you to cite certain statutes. What is 790.01 subsection 15b? What is it? What is the defense to it? You know, and if people cannot answer these things, I pull out from the teachings, then they're not ready. So just a caution for yourself and for all that sometimes like the practice is boring or this information is boring. And I'm like, I don't want to meditate on the first noble truth because it's just all about this. And we want to jump. Um, just caution yourself that sometimes you got to finish ninth grade before you go on to 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. You can't jump from ninth
Gotcha.
grade all the way to, hey, I'm ready for my dissertation now. All right. So moving on, four protective meditation function. Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi, right here. Bhikkhu Bodhi. Bhikkhu Bodhi. Can you see that from here?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Maybe a little closer. Bhikkhu Bodhi, Bodhi, gave an academic review and an academic guided meditation on the four protective meditation function found in the path to purification, the Visuddhimagga. We took out what is most important and potent and teach it. Because if we were to sit there and read the Visuddhimagga, again, it's like this thick. Actually, the Visuddhimagga is right there. Whew. See some of these?
Big.
Oh, it's thick. There's 45. In Buddhism, there's 45 of these, and actually even a little bit more. So, in Christianity, we have one Bible. In Buddhism, we have 45 Bibles. Um, so, the first protective meditation function is meditating on the 9 qualities of the Buddha. Okay. Dr. Miles Niels belongs to the Vajrayana tradition, and when they meditate, they actually visualize that they are Buddha. Okay. So it's pretty cool. The Vajrayana tradition, they do a lot of imagery meditation, but not so much for us. So the 9 qualities of a Buddha, he's the knower of the world, He's wise. We want to cultivate these qualities such as he. When I see the Buddha, that's when he was a baby. But when I see images of the Buddha in the temples or some of that, I'm like, he's so calm. And we've seen these stickers, these bumper stickers, like what would Jesus do? And when I see images of the Buddha, or when I'm irritated, I'm like, what would the Buddha want me to do right now? You know, it's an instant calming of the mind to think about the nine qualities. Then the second meditation function is on loving kindness. If we have a lot of anger in our hearts towards ourselves or others, our exes, for example, when we want to start cultivating loving kindness, may I be well, may I be happy, may I be free, may I be free of mental suffering, may I be free from physical suffering, and so on. And we radiate that towards our neighbors, people we don't know, the guy at the gas station around the corner, and then subsequently our enemy. One of the hardest thing ever to do. Okay. The third meditation function is meditating on the body, Asubha Bhavana. We are more attached to our body than anything else. Yeah, again, back to the $1 million in dermatology. So meditating on the body, it can be found on 32parts.com, 32parts.com. And it's like head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinews, bones, bone marrow, ew, feces, stomach, fat, tears, saliva. We're trying to see things as they are. Okay. Um, so uh, again, attachment, investigating attachment to our own body and everything else. Uh, the practice of the self, the practice of the non-self. That's a big practice. We'll go down to that later. Not me, not mine, not I. Again, our ego. That's trying to undo the ego thing. Egolessness. Fourth, fourth protection meditation function is death. Yeah, it's gonna be one of those very beautiful type of meditation to face death. When we're gonna die, how we're gonna die, where are we gonna die, asking these questions to get closer to death so that it doesn't creep up on us so surprisingly all of a sudden in life. Death also emphasizes urgency and expediency. Um, so, the problem is that we think we have time when we in fact don't. So that's why meditation on death is extremely important. We start to prioritize things quite quickly when, you know, this type of meditation aims to kind of shake you up a little bit. Kind of shake you up a little bit. It's like, hey, hey.
In scrolling. But that is where I am here.
Um, I said in my TikTok video, if I gave you 168 hours to live, which is 1 week, what would you do differently? I'm your physician, board certified, and you have cancer right now, and you have 1 week to live. You have 1 week to live out whatever it is you want to live out. So if I told you that, you'd be like, oh man, you would look at the way how you sleep, how you wake up, how you're not going to waste time on idle talk, gossiping, who you need to see, who you need to ask for forgiveness, all the questions you want to ask your parents, things you want your kids to know before they grow up. Your whole world will spin quickly. If I'm a little nicer, I give you, just did the math last time. I give you a month to live, took 30 and times 24, like 720 hours, something like that. I gave you, where's my calculator? I don't have it. If I gave you 720 hours to live, and you're like, oh, okay, well, with a month, I can do a little bit more. And these are some of the things that you want to, you know, these fall under death meditation.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not there to like cause more anxiety. It's just there to, it's like if you're lazy or something, it would really get you to be more effective, more efficient. Because we know,
So put
what.
things into perspective.
Yeah, because watching, watching 16 hours of Netflix is, I don't know, it's entertaining, but is there more that you could do with your life? Is there any active suffering in your life, or how could you improve as a good mom, the good sister, the good daughter that you are? You know, are you secure in the knowledge of death, life after death? All these questions that you have. Some people delay these questions, and then life or cancer hits them, and it's not going to be pretty. You can imagine. So then finally, um, we move on to vipassana meditation, which is insight meditation, which is you're cultivating to see the three marks of existence in everything: um, impermanence, suffering, and the non-self. So let's say, let's say you want to date another guy, for example, right? Vipassana meditation aims for you to achieve insight instantly into the true nature of reality of anything. So let's say you meet Tom. Tom's really handsome. He's around your age, educated, whatever. He's got all the ducks in one row. Okay. And if you and if you see things clearly as they are, you would approach it mindfully. In Buddhism, you don't, there's no extreme here into anything. The Buddha just wants you to find the middle way, which is the Noble Eightfold Path in living your life. And so you would not be clinging on to Tom, and you wouldn't fall into love so quickly. You wouldn't make all these mistakes because you see things as they are. How do you see things as they are? When you practice vipassana, you see that Tom is subject to impermanence, okay? That he is subject to change. Hair, body, skin, personality. What you met him now, and 5 years down the road, you think he's going to be the same he. Okay, research tells us every 5 years people change. Okay, 5 years ago, were you the same you? There you have it.
No.
There you have it. Okay, so you see impermanence in Tom. Then the second one, you see that Tom is subject to suffering, dukkha. What does that mean? Well, he's subject to decay, old age, depression, anxiety. He's subject to all the same thing that we are subject to. Okay. And also in your relationship between you and Tom, it's not always going to be satisfying. It's not always going to be satisfying. That also includes sex. Okay. Which, of course, we all know. Me and you both know as adults. The things in life, in relationships or whatever, or your favorite toy or favorite car, it's just like, yeah, it's great, but I'm bored of it. Okay. Simply put, and then rarely is he under your control. Okay, is he always under your control, and are you under his control? That's the practice of the non-self. Okay, the me, the my, the I. That is my Tom. That is my Karen. The possessiveness. So vipassana meditation, which I usually channel people. Well, I'm going to be teaching it. None of my students have been ready to be taught Vipassana because they haven't gone through these stages that I have asked them to gone through these stages. I'm a young emerging teacher, and I want things methodologically done, in a method way, structured way. Yeah, I don't like to jump. Their mind's already jumping, so if I'm like, oh great, okay, well let's go to Vipassana right now. Some teachers do that. Some teachers actually skip everything. They're like, we're just going to do Vipassana. So sit there, and if you have pain, you just do the noting technique: pain, 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 and remind yourself that it is not your pain. Don't compound suffering on top of existing suffering. You know, it's the true nature of the body to produce pain or to have pain. And pain is a good thing because it tells you, hey, you're probably sitting in the wrong way. And don't say this is my pain or life sucks because I have this pain. So Vipassana, it's really cool. If you look at Bhikkhu Yutta Thammo, who's in Canada, yeah, he teaches Vipassana, and that's all he teaches. That's it, it's Vipassana. And he uses the Mahasi Sayadaw technique, which is the noting technique. But I find it difficult to do if you just grab someone who's actively suffering without going through dependent origination, four noble truths, and all these things that you got to do, and just put them in Vipassana. It would be very confusing from my standpoint as a young teacher. Young meaning I'm still learning, it's not perfect. So my impression may be wrong and subject to be wrong. Subject to be under scrutiny. um, so yeah, that's pretty much summarizes this tradition. Very simple, very to the point, not confusing. I find other methods in different school of Buddhism a little confusing. If things don't make certain channels, what's the channel have to do with what? If I'm having question marks, that means a lot of you are gonna have question marks because I am one that able to disseminate, decipher, analytical. And I need to figure this out because I don't have a lot of time to play around with whatever it is method y'all teaching because I don't get it. Does that make sense?
It does. It
Oh.
does. Okay. That's a lot of work.
Oh, it's a lot of
With
fun.
the four protective meditation.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
It is. It's fascinating.
It's really cool actually to dive into this with curiosity. And matter of fact, let me take some of my words back. And matter of fact, let me take some of my words back. We can't jump into certain things. If there's active suffering in your life where you call me next week, you're like, "Venner, I'm really angry right now. I'm angry at a lot of things right now." Then that's when I drag my speaker in and we listen to chant of metta, and you just let the music just take you, you know, and just let. But there were points in my life in my 13 years where there was really some trying times, and all I did was just put the chant of metta and just listen to it for years, for like 3 years before the fire could like mitigate. The fire of anger could kind of like die down. Blue flames. When we got blue flames, woo, we need to start putting water on it. Um, so the four protective meditation function has again protective functions. Very effective method that the Buddha used 2,500 years ago, long before Zoloft, long before Xanax, oxycodone, and people did just fine. People did just fine because if it didn't work, the teachings of the Buddha would not exist until this very day, which is 2,564 years after.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I don't feel angry a lot of the time, but you never know where this journaling journey will take me. So I'll keep you posted. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I get irritated. Actually, most recently, so I need to go practice metta meditation. Why am I irritated? Well, I'm a social change type monk, which is, and certain speeches he'll slide a couple of words in there about Congress, United States Congress. So, but yeah, like Florida just passed a bill about civics education, and I'm like, civics education? Why don't we spend that 200 and something $1 million on mental hygiene programs for kids so that we can reduce teen suicide? You ever thought about that? you know, so stuff like that
Yeah.
just kind of didn't sit well with me. But I have to sit really. I sit for a long time with certain talks, especially if my emotions is so involved in it, especially trying to save our children. Uh, especially if I'm teaching to God millions of people nowadays. Um, yeah, it's my teachers would frown on me when they're like, "Oh, I don't know, you sound a little angry there on your YouTube, Gito." But yes, so we any so I meet people where they're at typically when so you don't think that it's all have to be structured this way and it's all Gito is so rigid and no, I'm very flexible in this practice, and we can move from one to another depending on where you're at, and then you try it out and you like it and you're like, oh yeah, I like this more than the other, and that's okay too, you know. It's
I
not.
believe.
Tell me about your secret of the past couple months, because I'm observing you happier, brighter, and you're glowing in this room. Okay, so these are some of the encouragement I want to give you for you and for all, you know, to always reel yourself back in when life gets hard or we get lost in life. We always, all of us, including monks. And the answer always lies in the teachings of the Buddha.
Very much.
All righty, take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
Oh, that is the joy of my night, getting to talk to people. Thank you for all joining me. Um, wow, yeah, definitely. I have a lot of people, all these media in front of me. Facebook failed on my laptop, as expected. So therefore, there was a cutoff there. Uh, let's see here. Anyone have any quiet? Oh, probably. Somebody wanted to appear live at one point. Okay. So, and, you know, but Facebook has been failing here on stable and um, on point for me to spread the teachings of the Buddha, everything that you all have learned tonight, the rest of the world learn to reflect teachings of the Buddha. Having a lot of administrative duties. Stoicism. I will touch up on Stoicism one day. I know a lot of you has been making the comparison with Buddhism and Stoicism. So philosophy. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me once again from across and Southeast Asia and Europe. May you all be well. May you all be happy. May you all be free. Be free from mental suffering. Be free from physical suffering. May you realize the light of your own true nature. May you all be healed and be a source of healing for others. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.